bit of Bitcoin, come and see me afterwards. I like to give everybody one Bitcoin, you know, one little bit or something. give $1 or something to everybody just so you can experience how the wallet works, what a transaction looks like, how fast it is. And I'm sure many of the other people here who already have Bitcoin will join me in helping out newbies, helping you set up a wallet, and giving you a little bit just so you can get started. Bitcoin is something that you need to experience. And once you experience it, you then start asking questions like, why do banks suck? Why do checks suck? Why do credit cards suck? Why do wire transfers suck? And the answer to all of those questions is Bitcoin. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. I'll start with the very basics. Bitcoin is a currency. It's a digital currency that operates like digital cash, but it's a lot more than that. It's not the 194th national currency. It's the first transnational global digital currency. It is money for the internet, but it's a lot more than that. What enables Bitcoin to work is a network, and that network is a decentralized network, which means that there's no one in the middle. It's a distributed network, which means it's spread around, and it operates on a global basis. And that network maintains something called the blockchain, which is a distributed asset ledger. The blockchain is a list of all of the transactions that have ever happened on the Bitcoin network. What the blockchain does is it keeps track of who owns Bitcoin right now. That's what an asset ledger is. So a ledger, in accounting terms, is where you do your bookkeeping. Bitcoin is a triple entry bookkeeping system. And based on that, it keeps a ledger that is distributed. But here's the magic. No one controls the ledger. In order to write something on the ledger, you have to do some computation called proof of work. And this is a completely decentralized way of achieving consensus on the blockchain, which means that the network operates to prove that something is on the ledger. And once that's proven, the entire network agrees that it's on the ledger. And no one has been in the center to authorize that. The reason this is important is because every single trust-based system we have is a system that requires you to trust an individual or an institution. And in order to make sure that we can trust the individual or the institution, we've built these elaborate structures of credit reporting and fraud checks, of identity verification. And the banks and the credit card companies spend billions of dollars each year trying to maintain the trust of a central party. Bitcoin, as an invention, introduced a concept of consensus through proof of work that does not require trust in any individual institution. As a system, Bitcoin embodies the principle of trust no one. In numeris veritas. In numbers, there is truth. Bitcoin is based on math. And once you understand how the math works, then you can see how, out of that simple set of rules, a very complex, emergent behavior arises. And that complex behavior allows you to have, for the first time in history, distributed trust. Trust in a communal process. Trust in a distributed system. Trust without a person or an institution in the middle of it. Bitcoin operates on the basis of a competition that happens every 10 minutes. And in that competition, users called miners from all around the world will try to solve a very difficult mathematical problem. And the first one to find this very, very special solution to this problem is able to write one block on the ledger, about 600 transactions. What's happened in the last 10 minutes? And write that on the ledger and then prove that they found a solution to that block in such a way that the entire network will recognize that as a valid solution. And because the miner has expended so much effort to solve that problem, they can trust that the incentives of the miner are aligned with creating a verifiable block. Because if that block is verified, the miner gets 25 Bitcoins. And if that block is not verified, the miner just wasted a ton of electricity. So the miner would rather create a block that's verifiable to get the reward. You multiply that by 46,000 nodes and build a global network around it and keep it alive for 5 years, and you've got a 10 billion market. And this is just the start. On that basic convention of distributed consensus or proof of work, we can build a lot more than a currency. It is, for the first time, we have the ability to have distributed decision-making. Decision-making that doesn't depend on hierarchical organizations and people. And the reason this is pretty cool, especially if you're into the libertarian movement, I'm not a libertarian, but I still find it pretty cool, is because people can't be trusted. And hierarchical institutions are corrupted from the inside out. And so the first people who rise to the top of the hierarchical institution pervert it into serving their needs instead of the needs for which the institution was created. And this happens in banking, in politics, in human society, all across the world. The nice thing about math is that once you understand how it works, you don't have to trust anyone. It just works. And so then, it can't be corrupted. As long as everyone follows the rules, and you can prove that you followed the rules through the proof of work algorithm, you don't have to trust anyone, okay? Here's the other magical thing that happens when you create the distributed system of proof of work. Every single payment and financial system we have based on centralized hierarchical trust has to be very, very careful about who it lets in. Because in order for that trust to be maintained, every single participant in the network has to be vetted, identified, credit checked, fingerprinted, background checked. And then you hope they don't go bad, but sometimes they do. What that results in is closed networks. I can't connect to the Visa network without doing a very arduous merchant application. I can't interrogate the Visa network to see how many transactions they've done. It's completely opaque to everyone who isn't a vetted merchant. And that's the most open system we have. I can't connect to an API on my bank and manipulate my account remotely because they can't vet me and allow me to do that. Because who knows what kind of code I could write, and their trust depends on keeping out the bad guys. I can't connect to the Federal Reserve's lending window that gives out $70 billion of money in corporate welfare to banks for the last 5 years by losing the dollar. I can't connect to it because I'm not a bank. Now, if you build a system of trust through distributed computation, you can make a network that's completely open. Because it doesn't matter whether you trust the person who connects to the network, because they can't do anything. They can't do anything because they can't pervert the system of consensus. They have to play by the same algorithmic rules. Just like the internet, Bitcoin at its core is simply a standard. It is a protocol. It is a memorandum of understanding between all of the users and the programmers that this is how it works and this is how you speak Bitcoin on the network. And as long as you follow those rules, you can connect to the network and use it. And no one has to trust you. And you don't have to trust anyone.